Welcome to the Survivor to Thriver show with your happiness expert, Samia Bano. Do you feel stuck, silent, and stressed? Is something hurting your heart and soul? Are you burning yourself out? If so, you are in the right place because this is the podcast people from all over the world join in to learn exactly how to stop suffering and start living with inner peace and joy. Let's get started. Hey, last episode we were talking about how just because we allow ourselves to forgive somebody for what they have done to us, the hurt that they've caused us, does not mean that we are saying that what they did doesn't matter, or that it didn't hurt us, or that we don't get to hold them responsible and accountable for what they did. That is just a way of thinking that is based on a fear that we have. See, but that fear is not it's not that it's not a valid fear, but it's just more that it doesn't have to be that way. Just because, you let go of your hate, your anger, your negativity, it doesn't mean that, you have to shut down your thinking capacity, your capacity for rational thinking, logical thinking, and nor does it mean that, you have to give up on your need to see justice being done. Because, one thing that really kind of helped me over the course of so many years as I struggled through my own healing process, and particularly in the context of forgiving the person who sexually abused me as a child, one of the things that I realized and recognized was that the negative feelings that we have, and whether we hold on to them or we let go of them, that's one issue. And then what happens with that other person in terms of whether we choose to hold them accountable or not, in terms of, let's say, if they've committed a crime, whether we choose to make a report around that crime, whether we choose to take that, whether we choose to take them to court and see them persecuted or not, that's a separate issue. And whether we choose, it's like, I come back again and again to this idea of the golden rule, the idea of, treat other people the way you want to be treated yourself. And I think to myself that, hey, if I was the one who committed a heinous crime, my God, if I put myself in the shoes of the person who abused me as a child, and I say, well, if the tables were turned and if I were him, I was in his place, how would I want to be treated? How would I want to be treated? And I think about it in the context of, look, if I actually recognized my mistake, I recognize, and by the way, not a mistake, it really is a horrible thing that I would have done by abusing a child. It's like a heinous crime, a sin, if ever there was one. But I recognize that, my God, I've done something really, really horrible, something really, really wrong. And I'm feeling bad about it. I would still, like, if I thought about then my victim, I would still want to be forgiven. I would still want to be forgiven. But in being forgiven, if my victim was to decide that, they didn't want anything to do with me, like they didn't want to talk to me, they didn't want to, continue to associate with me, like forgiving, me doesn't mean that they want to be in a relationship with me. I'd accept that. I would be like, okay, for me, it would be enough that, like, if my victim said, okay, I forgive you, in that I'm going to release my anger and my hatred, but I still don't want anything to do with you. Please let me lead my life. I would respect that. I would, because, it's like, that's not what receiving forgiveness would be about for me in that moment. For me, receiving forgiveness in that moment is about, my God, I hurt that person, I violated their rights, I violated their boundaries, and now the least I can do is respect their wishes, respect the boundaries that they want to lay out now. And let's say I'd been even convicted of my crime, and I was standing in the courtroom and going through the process of being convicted and being put in jail while I was going through the court case. Maybe that, I imagine, like maybe that was a process that made me realize the wrong that I had done, and now I feel truly sorry. And so now in this moment, it's like I want to speak to the person, to my victim, and I want to talk to them, and I want to say to them, I'm sorry, and please forgive me if you can. I would love that, Johns. But I would, at the same time, if my victim decided to not respond, to not forgive, I mean, my God, it's like, that's not what seeking forgiveness is about. It's like my duty in that instance, my satisfaction, if there is any for me to be had at such a time, is just in the knowing that I have made the effort that I could to apologize, to let that other person know about how sorry I am for what I did. And if in the next moment the judge announces their verdict and they sentence me, to whatever punishment is assigned in the law for the kind of crime that I've committed, I would accept that. I would accept that punishment, And it's like, even if I stand, and so now imagine from the other perspective. So now imagine I'm standing in front of the judge in this courtroom, and the judge says, okay, well, I'm going to give my verdict, but before I do, you have your last chance to make a statement or say anything you want. And so in that moment, I feel remorse, and I get up and I make a sincere apology, and the judge believes me. even my victim believes me, if there's a jury, maybe even the jury believes me, like they can sense that my remorse is sincere, that my asking forgiveness is coming from a place of genuineness. What does that mean? Does that mean that if the judge had decided to give me a guilty verdict, that now he is required and compelled to let me give me a non-guilty verdict and let me go? No, of course not. It's like the judge will follow the law. He needs to follow the law. And it's like, okay, well, you have recognized your mistake, you have asked for forgiveness, and we can see that it's coming from a genuine place, but that still does not change what you did in the past. It does not change what you did in the past. And this verdict is being given on the basis of what you did in the past, not where you are right now, not how you're feeling right now, not how you've changed right now. So the verdict will still be given, the punishment will still be meted out. And that's okay. See, because genuine forgiveness does not require us to forego our need to meet justice or to achieve justice or to implement a just law. It doesn't. Those are two separate issues. You see, in fact, I happen to know, certainly in the context of the American court of law, when you are engaged in a criminal case, you know, the prosecutor, see, it's like prosecuting on behalf of the state, on behalf of the government. The victim of the crime is just a witness in the case. And so let's say, you know, and by the way, this is something that I know happens and not infrequently in the context of domestic violence cases. And I happen to know this because of my background and experience in working on the domestic violence hotline that I did for 4 years. See, so I got the opportunity to work with a lot of survivors and learn about a lot of different case histories of what happens. And, you know, in domestic violence cases, it is actually very, very common that, you know, the victims, they will retract and they'll change their mind. So let's say there is a violent incident. The police gets involved. You know, sometimes it's the victim themselves who will call the police for help in that moment of need and desperation. Or sometimes it's like maybe it's just the neighbors. They hear the commotion, the noise, they get concerned, they call the police comes, they see what happens, they're like, okay, this is clearly a case where, you know, there was domestic violence taking place, and so they make an arrest. Okay, but this is not uncommon at all, that in the moment, you know, whatever happens, but then later on, the victim begins to feel scared of what has happened in terms of, oh my God, you know, it's like sometimes, you know, they can feel like they may still be very much in love with their partner, even though their partner abused them, and so they want to protect their partner, and so they sometimes refuse to cooperate with the police. or sometimes, like, in the moment they'll give a testimony, they'll cooperate, they'll tell the truth, and based on that testimony, the police moves forward with their investigation and the filing of the court case and so on and so forth. But later on, for many different reasons, it's not unusual that the victim can decide that, they don't want to proceed with the court case any longer, that they don't want to cooperate any longer. That they would much rather that the other person be let go, that the case just ends, that it just finishes. And in such cases, you see, it's like, because the victim is just a witness, the case, if it is taken to court, is taken to court on behalf of the state. The crime, the way that it's registered, is a crime that is marked as a crime against the state, right? So it's like the prosecutor can actually make a decision to continue ahead with the case even without your cooperation. So, like, if you were the victim and you say, you know what, I don't want to go any further with this case, I want you to just forgive that person, I've forgiven that person, now I want you to just let them go. And the prosecutor can still say, no, sorry, that's not your choice. We're going to move forward with the case. Now, a lot of times what happens in reality is that if you, as the primary victim and therefore the primary witness, refuse to cooperate, the case may become too weak for the prosecutor to be able to get a conviction. It can make it very, very difficult without your testimony, without your cooperation, for the prosecutor to proceed and present a viable case. So a lot of times, if you refuse as the victim to cooperate with the district attorney, they will be forced to withdraw the case. But if they have other kinds of evidence besides your testimony that can prove their case, then they can continue to move forward with it. So, it's like forgiveness is one issue, and the doing of justice, the holding the criminal accountable for his or her crime, is a separate issue. Now, of course, they're interrelated, they're connected, but they're also distinct and separate. And it's really, really important for us to remember that and to recognize that, because this is the recognition that can really allow you to let go of those fears that, oh my God, if I forgive, if I let go of my anger, my hatred, what about my need for justice? It'll go unmet. No, that does not have to be the case. That's a false dichotomy. You can let go of your anger and your hatred and at the same time stand firm in your quest for justice. You don't have to have your anger and hatred be the motivation that drives you in your quest for justice. It's, that's what it really comes down to. And also, like I already mentioned, but I just want to, just in summary, re-emphasize this point that just because you forgive someone does not mean that you now have to become all buddy-buddy with them. That you now must love them in terms of like that kind of warm, affectionate feeling. Not at all. You see, you can absolutely let go of your negativity and at the same time be like, you know what, the reality of life, of my life right now, is that as far as this person is concerned, I don't trust them anymore. So even as I'm forgiving them, I don't trust them anymore, and because I don't trust them anymore, or I find myself struggling to trust them, I am going to choose to not engage with them, to not be in a relationship with them. Or even if I choose to maintain some kind of relationship with them, to recognize that, you know what, trust has to be earned. It has to be earned, and it can only be earned over time. Trust has to be earned over time. So you can choose to forgive someone and decide to have nothing more to do with them, and that's perfectly fine. That does not mean that your forgiveness is not genuine. Look, again, I'll point to my case. I've genuinely forgiven the person who abused me. I genuinely have. And I've gone, and I'm not even like somebody who's just a beginner in the forgiveness process. Like, I've gone quite deep into the forgiveness process, and I'm still choosing to not have that person be an active part of my life. I have not spoken to that person in the last 24 years. But I've still forgiven him, right? Now, so it's like, again, those are two separate issues. And if you do, again, like if I was to choose to do something with him or to re-engage with this person, it's like with the knowing that I may not be able to trust them immediately again or ever. So, and if I find myself struggling to trust them, I will not blame and judge myself about it. I will just acknowledge that, hey, I'm just finding myself struggling to trust this person, and there's a very good reason why I'm struggling to trust them. So I'm going to proceed with caution. I'm going to do what I need to do to help me feel safe and protected, even if I choose to somehow engage with this person moving forward. So again, forgiveness does not mean that you immediately have to begin to trust that person. Again, that's like a false dichotomy. All right. So with that thought, I really hope that, by going through all of this discussion with you, it's not, I guess, discussion so much, unless you choose to respond to me and engage with me on what I've been talking about and share with me your thoughts. And I would love that, by the way. I would love for this to be more of a discussion. So, but in any case, I do hope that, you have been finding value in this, and that what I've been sharing with you is helping you to understand some of the fears that may have been holding you back and preventing you from letting go of your own negativity and anger, and really engaging in the forgiveness process for yourself. So, you know what? Again, like I said, I love to hear from you. So if you find yourself struggling with forgiveness as a practice, or if there's something that I've been sharing with you that does not seem to make sense or you disagree with, please connect with me and let me know what you think, what you need, how I can help you and serve you moving forward. And you know how to get in touch with me. Just go to my website at www.academyofthriving.com, click on the Contact Us page, and you will see different options for how you can connect with me. So until we connect next time, I wish you lots of peace and joy.